Hello and welcome back to the last part in this series, part 4 of how to make a junk journal. And this is the journal that I've been working on. You can, of course, apply any of these techniques to your own junk journal. And so in this video, I'm going to just show you quickly a couple of pages, embellishments that I did and walk you through how I did them. And then the bulk of this video will be showing you how I did the binding on this. So let me just show you. So I made this little card, and oh, this is actually a clip that I did, and I just took an image, and so this is actually an index card, and I put on this piece of paper, and then I glued this one on the front, and then I sewed all the way around it with a zigzag stitch, and my stitching got really ugly right here, and I had to redo it because it was bunching up. But you know, with junk journaling, there's always a fix. And in this case, I just took another piece of little scrap paper and just glued it right over the top. And then I added this little bottle. And I just used this little clip to hold it in place. And then I was going to show you. Okay, on this page, I just took this image and I glued it onto another piece of paper, and it extends a little bit, so it's got a little wing, and I glued that down. I knew I wanted this to hinge, and so then I just glued another piece of paper over the top, and of course added some other elements of interest on that page. And then on this one, and it had this image, and I just glued it down onto a book page that I did some stamping on. And then I used Stabilo pencil, 8045, and I got this technique from Pam at the Paper Outpost, and it's really neat. You can just, you know, draw. For this one, I outlined this, and then I drew a couple of little things, and then you just wet a Q-tip and you go over that line, and it just kind of bleeds out and it looks like paint. It's really cool. So I just glued this page down onto the back of a page that was entirely white and blank, and I didn't like it, so now it is a pocket. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I did the binding. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take some duct tape, and I'm just going to cover across here just to give it a little extra stability. So I'm going to make it a little bit shorter than my spine, and then I'm just going to overlap them. You don't have to use duct tape for this part. I have used packing tape, and that seems to work just fine. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of cotton fabric. Muslin works fine, or just cotton, something with some natural fiber. And I want it to be about the same size here, and I'm going to lay that on top of this, and that's just going to give it some tackiness for when we glue our spine in. So I've got my fabric here, and this is probably not going to show, but just in case it did, I wanted a black piece of fabric, so this is just a little piece of leftover Harry Potter fabric that I used for another project. And so this is the glue I'm going to use. This is bookbinding glue. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to do is the front and the back covers are black, And I want to, you can see, this is the original color. It's like a dark blue, navy blue. And I want to paint the edges of this black so that it matches the cover. Here I've painted all around the edges, so that's going to blend in nice and neat. And now I'm going to go ahead and use my glue and put this in. So I just put my glue in a little tub here and just going to brush it on. And I don't think I made it as wide as my tape here, so. And then rather than trying to do it all at once, I usually go from top to bottom. So I just put some glue on there. I'm going to press this in. And then I'm going to work my way down. And then it helps if you take a little card or a little squeegee like this and just kind of press it down. So make sure you get it all in the little nooks and crannies. So I'm going to let this dry. And in the meantime, so I've cut this to size. This is, you can see it's just from a cereal box. And I'm actually going to peel off this shiny side so it sticks a little better. And I cut it, you can see it's a little bit shorter on either end, but it does fit right into the spine perfectly. So I am going to paint this black as well because you will be able to see this. And you could do a print on this, you know, with stencils or, you know, put pretty paper on it. I'm just going to go ahead and paint it black. Here's my painted spine. And this is ready for the signatures to go in. So I'm going to turn this over. And because I have two signatures, I'm just going to mark where I need to place the holes. And so I'm going to do a 3-hole binding. So I'm going to do, I think I'll do 3/4 of an inch from either end. Just going to mark where 3/4 of an inch is. And then I also want to mark the center. I'm going to go right in the middle. Oop. And it's okay if it's not exactly in the center, that's fine. Okay, so 2 signatures, which means I want to split this in 3. So where you've got the intersecting lines, that's where you're going to punch your holes for your signatures. Just like that. And we can go ahead and mark this as the top. It doesn't really matter because I did it symmetrical, but it'll just help us keep things straight. Okay, so I'm going to use my awl and punch those holes, and then I will line up my paper and punch holes in the same place. Here's my awl. I am going to turn on my light. Ah, that's better. I'm going to push through right at that corner. And I'm just going to push through a little bit so that you can see when I push through from this side, the edges around here bump up. So I'm just going to kind of mark it so I know where to push. And then I'm actually going to push it through from the other side so that the lip is not showing. It'll be on the back, which no one will see. So there's my marks, and I'm just going to go ahead and then punch from this side and make my holes nice and big so I can get my thread through easily. And now we're going to mark our signatures. I've gone through and lined up all my pages the way I want them. And now I'm going to use this as a guideline to mark where I want to punch the holes. And I'm just going to mark where those holes are. So I'm just going straight over and marking. Okay, so now I know where I need to punch my holes. So when you punch the holes, you want to make sure that you hold it. You want to hold your pages closed up like this. If you lay it flat, they're gonna go all over the place. So I've got this first one. I'm gonna put my awl in there, kind of close it up and push straight through. And so you can see it came perfectly right on the spine. And if you lay it flat and do it, it doesn't always come out in the right spot. I'm going to clip this again so I don't shift around too much. And now we're ready to sew. Oh, this is actually the first signature, and it's easier if you go from the back to the front with your signature, so I'm actually going to do this one next. I've lined up my pages, and I'm going to do the same thing with this signature. I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to use black. measure about 3 times the length. Get your needle. And if you have one of these little bookbinding sets, I think I got mine on Amazon for like $12 or something. It came with the awl, the needles, the thread. It's a great little starter kit. This one is Cutico. And we're gonna thread the needle. And you can just leave it with a little tail like that. Okay, we're ready to sew. And what you want to do is you want to start with the middle hole on the inside. You want to go from the inside to the outside. And what I like to do is put a little clip on this end just to make sure it doesn't come through and you have to do everything all over again. Now, when you're sewing into your spine, make sure that you've got this side is, you're not sewing on this side. This is the back. You want the side that's going to show facing you. So, and we're doing from the back to the front, so I want to do the hole on the right side. And then we're going to go back in. I'm doing, again, the right side. Back to the inside in the top hole. Don't worry about pulling that tight. Then we're going to go back out through the bottom hole. And also through the spine again. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to have this thread in the middle between the two tails. So I'm putting this tail on the right side and I'm going to try and push the other tail through on the left side. Okay, so I'm going back into the middle hole and I'm going to just go underneath that thread. Try not to stab your needle through the thread. Okay, now you can take your needle off. Take that off. And when you tighten these, you can just gently pull this way, switch them, pull that way, check the back. Not quite tight enough, pull a little more. That should do it. And when you tie your knot, you want to do the same thread on top each time. So I'm going to do left over right, and then right over left, And that signature is done. With these, you can trim them, you can leave them long, you could tie little beads or baubles on there. I'm just going to leave them for now. I will trim them later. Now we do the same thing for the first signature. So there we've got both of our signatures sewn in, and this is almost ready to go in here. What we want to do first is, so it's going to be like that. But before we do that, we want to put our inner, we want to glue our inner pages here. Here's my paper that I'm going to use. I'm going to cut it to size and then we'll glue it in. We are ready to glue, and I'm going to use, again, my PVA glue here. So I want to leave a little border around the edges, like that. And then this, again, you will see the tiniest little bit between the spine and the page, this paper. And I just use regular copy paper for this. You don't want a paper that is too thick, like cardstock actually, it's a little too thick, I think. I'd like a thinner paper on here. So again, I'm going to do a little bit at a time because I feel like it's easier than trying to lay the whole thing down at once. So I have figured out where I wanted it. I'm holding it in place. Now I'll do the top. Now I can lift up the bottom and continue. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. There it is. It is ready for the spine to be glued in. So that's the next step. So I'm just going to place a good amount of glue along the spine here. I'm going to place it in, and then we're going to let it dry. So I'm going to make sure this is centered along the top and bottom. And also left and right. Make sure the book closes just right. Okay, so now this is where it helps to have a bone folder, or even just like, I'm going to use this pencil here and press. Pressed in between the signatures and also on both sides. And then what we want to do is keep it closed like this and let it dry. So I've got a book press that I'm going to use. If you don't have that, you could just clamp it together, or just, put something heavy on it to keep it in position. And then we're pretty much done. So here it is, final product. And I will show you the inside here. You can see just a little bit of that fabric peeking through. And the back, same thing. So I hope you enjoyed this series and were able to get some tips and tricks on making your own junk journal. And keep an eye out. I will do a flip through of this entire journal and all the embellishments that I did. And thank you so much for watching this series. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.